Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new Trivisa Phoenix. I found out about Trivisa 2 years ago whenever I bought the Trivisa Lynx. This and the budget version of the Lynx were the first Trivisa knives I ever experienced, and I have to say I was truly impressed. I went back and watched those reviews, and I was just as impressed then as I am now with their quality of knives, especially at the price point. This version without the coated blades like $109. That is insane. This one has S35VN. And one thing that I've found right off the jump with Trivisa is they like to give you nice and comfortable handles. These were very comfortable. They fill out the hand nicely. This one has a milled tie pocket clip. And I was trying to figure out who the OEM to this knife was because it's done very, very well. And beautiful action. Just overall got me excited, and it wasn't the last Trivisa I had purchased myself. So after I reviewed this one, I went back on Amazon and started searching their knives and picked up this little guy. Now this one is such an underrated knife. This is the Trivisa Cam. This knife costs $200, and what's so awesome about that is this is a titanium integral. So it's one solid piece of titanium that is milled out from the inside, which is an expensive process to do. And they even put some inlays of carbon fiber, milled tie pocket clip, tie pivot collars. You got front flipper and flipper deployment. And I never was a fan of the pin size knives until this one. This one I absolutely loved, and it's so lightweight because of his tie frame. They did a great job softening all those edges. And for $200, M390 on this one, smooth action. I think these are still available. I think you can get the black wash version. I don't know if this particular one's available, but it's cool to see this one still around because I bought this one, I'm pretty sure, around 2 years ago as well. So then that's where my relationship with Trivisa began. They didn't reach out to me till I think it's either the end of last year or somewhere in that time frame. And now they've been sending stuff for me to check out. And I even got to meet him at Blade Show. Super nice guy. Him and his wife, we got to meet at Blade Show. They gifted me the Uma, one that I had been liking for a while. It's got the crushed carbon fiber, titanium bolsters. Love the way they did that. And it's a theme. Once again, you got the nice contoured scales. You have flipper and thumb disc. Excellent action. You got that wicked Warney blade. S35VN steel. Now, I don't love the pocket clip. I wish they would have done something like this. This looks way better, and we'll talk about that for that one. But another great knife. They nailed it once again. Any of the knives I show today will all be linked down in the description if you're interested. So, now we have the Trivisa Phoenix. This is a full-size EDC knife. It's coming in at 8.77 inches long. It has a 3.7 inch drop point blade of S35VN steel. The blade finish on this, they're calling it their pearly finish. I'm guessing it's a little bit different from the pearlescent. I don't know, maybe it's the same thing. I don't think this is a bead blast, and if it is, the finishing underneath it has to be done to a higher degree because I have not had any of their knives with this finish rust on me. And I live here in a high humid environment, and usually anything will rust. I intentionally carried this the other day. We were out by the nature trail behind my house, and I sweated on it all day long, and I have absolutely no spotting, so that's a great sign. You don't have any jimping up top, but you got a nice flat spot to rest your thumb. I didn't find it necessary. You have a top swedge that comes all the way down to that tip, thinning it out a little bit, but you still have a fairly robust tip. Great for piercing. If you had to do a little bit of twisting, you should be okay. Not something I'm really advocating for, but, if you had to. You do have a sharpening choil, however, that's probably the only thing that I really wish was done different. I wish the plunge grind would have been brought all the way to the back, and then I wish this would have went up a little bit higher because it's right there on that plunge grind. Is it an easy fix? Let's see. Yeah, it's an easy fix because they put the stop pin in front of the flipper tab, so I can do whatever I need to do there if I need to extend that. You also have a very, very slight recurve right here, and I'm thinking if I cut the choil in, I'd probably go a little bit in front of that, and that would probably get rid of the recurve altogether. It's a very, very slight recurve. It probably would not affect the sharpening at all. If you're going to do a recurve, I'd rather just do a very useful recurve, one that really curves back, because that way it's going to trap materials. It's going to do what a recurve is supposed to do. This one right here is not really doing anything functionally, so I'd rather not see it there. But you have a pretty high flat grind, and it comes down to around 23 thousandths behind the edge, so not the thinnest, but definitely not thick. And it's got a 20 degrees per side edge bevel. My particular knife, they usually do a great job of sending the knives out super sharp. Let's see how sharp this one is. Whenever I'm testing knives, I'm usually testing five knives at a time. That way I can keep up. If not, I would fall behind so bad. And I have to say, it was an absolute joy to feel the sharpness on this one, because the previous 5 knives were just very subpar, meh edges. And all the other 4 of them were twice the price of this one. So, excellent job. Hats off to Trivisa. It's slicing very well. And now we're testing those ergos, and we're going to start off with light pressure. And look how it's got such a nice fine edge to it, making those very feather-like feathers. Feather-like feathers. Then we're going to start to increase that pressure. And man, I cannot put into words how comfortable this knife is. And you just don't see the thickness like this that often on a pocket knife. A lot of them are ½ inch and under. This one's 0.62. Feels out the hand nice, and it just makes the knife so much more comfortable, especially when you have contouring on the scales. It just feels out the hand nicer, and man. And then get to the ½ inch sisal rope, and there we go once again. The other 4 knives put that massive blister I have on my finger. Just, oh, it was so aggravating. So I was like, man, when I got to this one, I was like, please, please have some bite to this edge. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, outstanding job. Perfect amount of belly to make these cuts on a flat cutting surface. And it is blasting through this. Very, very nice job. And it's doing even better than you can see from the video, because whenever I get these pieces at the end of the sisal rope roll that are coiled up like this, whenever I am uncoiling it, the sisal rope tends to unbraid, and that makes it twice as hard to cut this stuff, because it wants to flatten out, no matter how sharp the knife is, because I'm trying to use the least amount of pressure I can to get through the rope. So it's doing it. It's grabbing a hold of it, and it's not allowing it to slide like the other knives that I just tested. I'm not going to name names, but so yeah, A+ on the sharpness here. I don't think I've ever gotten a Trivisa that was dull or didn't have a really nice edge. Not that I can recall, at least. I've never felt like I needed to go sharpen it before I did any testing. I'll have to check and see, watch my videos, but I don't think so. Now, you can still use that tip. It's not too high. It's a little above the center line of the scales, but you could easily use the belly if you needed to. But if you wanted to use that tip, you definitely can. Nothing really gave it any trouble. Now, I will say on the dense cardboard, it cut it just fine, but the extra thickness in the stock, you can kind of feel that. That's the only test that I do that kind of collapses on the sidewall besides the rubber tubing. Had no problem on that. It's blasting through the 10-ounce denim, no problem whatsoever. Excellent job. Now we're getting into the deployment, and that's one thing that's great about this knife. There's a couple of things great about this knife, but you have a well-designed flipper tab. It's canted back. You do have some jumps up there just for some traction. This thing, I mean, rockets out. Not to mention, it's got a nice hydraulic smooth closure, very controlled closure. I love that. It's not a guillotine to where I have chances of chopping my fingers or anything. Very smooth, riding on ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball. Love the action on this knife. It's got a nice clean break. When it comes out fast. Now let's close it up and take a look at the scales on this one. So we got some beautiful carbon fiber scales that have a perfect contour on them. They did a great job of knocking off the hard edge on the sides, so nothing was sharp. And that brings me to the second part that's great about this knife, and that is the ergos. You have the contouring, and the average thickness on a pocket knife handle is usually 1/2 inch and under. The thickness on this one comes out to 0.62. I love seeing that, especially when you have contoured scales. Fills out the hand better, and it's going to be more ergonomic. You have that downward slant right here that I love to see, and you don't have any crazy swoop up here. It just flows with the handle. This one was extremely comfortable no matter how hard I push into the wood. That's a beautiful thing, especially for somebody like myself who has neuropathy in his hands. So, whenever a handle hurts me, it hurts me bad. And this one was a pleasure. Not to mention, it has a blind screwed mill-tie pocket clip, meaning that you have no visible screws on the outside. It's all done from the inside, so it keeps it nice and clean looking. And if you look at that clip, you got some beautiful contouring and softening on the pocket clip. So not only did I not feel anything, it was very comfortable. Stays out of the way of your palm. I found the clip goes in and out of the pocket nicely. And it's not a deep carry, but it sits fairly deep in there. And I think it looks nice the way that clip goes. It also brings the spine of the knife up against the side of my pants, and it doesn't move around a whole lot. You do have something to grab a hold to pull it out of the pocket. Now, because it's a big knife and the liners on this one are stainless steel, they have been skeletonized in there to bring down the weight some, but like I said, it's a big knife. So this one's coming in at 5.2 ounces. So you're going to notice you have something in the pocket. Was it too heavy? No, I don't think so. I carry this in lightweight shorts and it was just fine for me. Also feels a lot lighter than it actually is because it's perfectly balanced. So it's going to be way more nimble in hand. The lockup on mine, I'd say is around 15-20%. The access to that lock bar is perfection. The show side comes down lower and you got a nice little chamfer, so it's nice and comfortable to get my thumb in there. No problem whatsoever. The lockup on mine, I mean bank vault. No movement. Now let's see if that early lockup is going to cause any issues. Good to go. Now for some quick size comparisons, as you can see, it's a pretty big knife. It's bigger than the Ontario Rat 1 and dwarfs the Rat 2. And it's about identical in length to the Cold Steel Carve, and it's a little bit bigger than the Cold Steel AD15. And it's a hair shorter than the CJRB Frac, and it's almost identical to the CJRB Large Pyrite. And lastly, it's a little bit longer than both the Trivisa Uma and the Trivisa Lynx. Alright, now for my nitpicks complaints. First, even though I don't mind this finish, I would much rather a raw stonewash finish. It hides wear a lot better, doesn't smudge as much. Overall, I just like the appearance of it. Next, I wish she would have brought the plunge grind all the way back and then maybe brought the sharpening choil to about right here. And then also, get rid of the non-committal recurve here. If I'm going to get a recurve, I want it to be functional. And this is not going to do anything extra for me. And I don't know, it might not even supposed to be there because this is a kick up from that plunge grind. So I'm gonna probably be able to sharpen that out after the first sharpening, and I'll probably cut a little bit larger of a sharpening choil on here. Next thing, body screws or Torx T6. I would have much preferred them to all be T8 like the pivot screw. Something I forgot to mention, the pivot collars are Damascus on this knife. They look really nice pop of color. And lastly, there's no lefty love. So who is this knife for? So if you're someone looking for a high value, high quality, aesthetically pleasing pocket knife that performs well and is extremely comfortable in hand, no matter what task you're performing, then I think the Trivisa Phoenix is an outstanding option and one that I can highly recommend. As long as none of my nitpicks or complaints were deal breakers for you, then yes, I think you'll be truly happy with the knife. because I think the best part about this knife is the carbon fiber version. You have S35VN, Damascus pivot collar, blind screw mill tie pocket clip, exceptional action. It performed really well. This version comes in at $126. What? Code STASA23 will give you 10% off. And then if you want to shave even more off, you can get it with G10 scales for $110. So in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. You know, a lot of the things that I look for in a good pocket knife, especially when the price is right. I mean, the action on this thing is, redonkulous. I could, if I wanted to make it a guillotine, I could probably do that by taking it apart, putting my own lube in here. But I love a controlled drop, and this thing is breaking in more and more every time I open and close it. I love the fact that not only is the handle comfortable, but that flipper tab. I could do that all day long. Nothing worse than a pokey flipper tab, but this one is phenomenal. So, if the Phoenix interests you, don't forget I will have it linked down in the description. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to help support what I do here on this channel, that helps me pay for my testing materials. I can't thank you enough. If not, it's no big deal. And do me a favor, let me know in the comments which one of these Trivisas is your favorite, and what do you think about the brand new Phoenix? Well, that's going to be all for today. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget, please drop a thumbs up on it. That way I know you're enjoying the content. And if you like knife and gear videos and you're not already, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd love to have you join the family. Thanks for watching, everyone. And remember, keep those blades sharp, smile more. Boop, boop, boop.